As above, so below. External afflictions or negative experiences in the material and physical world are most often rooted in something that is spiritually misaligned inside of us. And when we reflect on these experiences thoughtfully, they become very potent vehicles or drivers of change and growth. The Parashat Tazria-Metzora talk about a supernatural phenomenon that existed in biblical times called Tzaraat. Tzaraat was primarily an affliction of the skin, though it sometimes appeared on homes and on clothing. Its primary physical expression was in the form of white spots of varying degrees of whiteness on the skin. When a human being suspected that they had tzaraat, they would go to the Kohanim or to the priests, and the Kohanim would very, very carefully, with thorough detail, examine the spots against a checklist of symptoms that the Torah walks us through. And upon determining that the human being indeed had tzaraat, the priest would call out tameh, tameh, or contaminated, contaminated. The person in that moment became metzora, or someone that had tzaraat, and would be forced outside of the camp, where they would sit in isolation, in complete isolation, all alone, until the wound healed. There are profound mystical and life lessons in this concept of tzaraat. So let's turn to the Hebrew and to the text. First, the name for the person who had tzaraat, we mentioned, was Metzora. Metzora. And our sages say that this is a reference to motzira, or brings out evil. And tzaraat was indeed a punishment for lashon hara, for gossip, for slander, for talking negatively about another human being. Another very fascinating detail about tzaraat is mentioned in the Torah text, in the appearance of the tzaraat. The Torah says, "Umar'eh hanega amok mi'or psaro." The affliction's appearance is deeper than the skin of the flesh. What does this mean? That even though the wound technically was on top of the skin, when you looked at it, it looked as if it was beneath the skin. Almost as if to say that the wound was inside the human being. What is the idea? As above, so below. Tzaraat was a physical manifestation of internal spiritual misalignment. When do we talk negatively about another human being? It's where our state of mind is off-center. It's when we're in a negative state of mind that we distort reality and project our wounds, our traumas, our predisposed negative beliefs onto the person and the experience and the event in front of us. Conversely, when we're in a good state of mind, when we're centered, when we're aligned, even if someone hurls insult at us or someone comes at us with a lot of negativity, we're actually able to respond from the center as opposed to reacting from the trigger. And even more so, we're able to perhaps meet that person with compassion, with creativity, with poise. When we're good and someone comes at us with negativity, we pretty quickly understand that they're going through something, that this probably has nothing to do with me. It's only when we're in a bad state of mind or where something inside of us internally resonates with what they're saying that we get twisted and that we start interpreting the entire thing negatively. And then we start projecting negativity as well on the person in front of us. So you could say that the Tzaraat actually served as a signal to the human being who carried it that something inside of them wasn't in check. Now, I took this idea of motzira, bringing out evil. I took it a bit further to think about it in the context of modern times, because today we don't have Tzaraat. For me, Tzaraat actually represents all experiences in our lives that we interpret as negative and that allow us to then turn inward and ask important questions. What is the story? What is the first story that I'm attaching to the event in front of me? What are the feelings that are coming up in response to the event in front of me? The experience that we decide is negative actually excavates the shadow inside of us that wants light. It shows us that there's a wound inside of us that wants healing. And just like the priests went and examined diligently and carefully the Tzaraat against the symptoms, our work today is to go inward and examine very carefully what is our internal storyline. What are the first thoughts that come up when we experience an event that doesn't feel that comfortable? We have to go inward, and instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from the experience in front of me about my internal world so that I could become a better and more evolved human being? The name of the parasha, there are two parshiot, are Tazria-Metzora. Tazria means you will plant a seed, planting a seed. The Lubavitcher Rebbe asks, if a parasha's title hints or captures the essence of its contents, how is it or why is it that a parasha that is entirely focused on skin affliction and impurity, why is that parasha called Tazria, which is planting a seed? Planting a seed makes us think of life. It makes us think of rebirth. And the Rebbe's answer is really, really beautiful. Everything Hashem, or that God does, is good. So even events that seem negative to us contain a spark of light or a spark of goodness, in that they force us to go inward and do the work necessary to become better, happier versions of ourselves. And if you do the work, the event in retrospect isn't negative anymore. It was always good and intended for the purpose of making you better. So this is the immense philosophy and lesson behind this kind of funny and mystical idea or concept of Tzaraat. And I think, again, even though Tzaraat no longer exists in modern times, the lessons are ever applicable. Thanks for listening.